What sis told me was very interesting. She told me that the parents of Satoshi-kun and his little sister are dead. Satoshi-kun and Satoko are now living with their uncle and aunt. They don't seem like they're respectable people. Not at all. They're always fighting, and the uncle is cheating on the aunt. He mostly lives with his mistress. Satoshi-kun and Satoko entered into that unwelcome environment. What surprises me the most is the fact that Satoshi-kun's parents were the Hojo couple, who were the leaders of the pro-dem activists. Wait, I don't know if this was actually something that was mentioned before. Like, okay, like the Hojos, they were definitely sympathizers of the den construction that they were accepting of it, but they were actually the leaders of the den construction? Like, not the leaders of construction and such, but leaders of the pro-dem activists? I don't know if that was actually something that was mentioned before. Or maybe it was. Maybe I wrote it in my notes. I don't know. But, that fact must have added something to the situation. Well, now it makes sense why people will be so against the Hojos. Even more. Not only that they were sympathizers with the construction, but they were actually leaders of that too. Leading that? Jesus. I don't know what kind of stance the uncle and aunt took during the den conflict. But they must have taken some indirect blows. Satoshi-kun's parents died after bothering them so much, and even left them their children. The uncle and aunt obviously can't love those kids. Things have gotten worse this past year too. Women can be really nasty bullies. Sometimes it doesn't matter who they're bullying, even if it's a kid. On top of that, women tend to care less about property than men. As a result, Satoko seems exhausted with it all. I can imagine Satoshi-kun bravely protecting his little sister, just like when he saved me.
なら、サトシ君も普段は疲れてるってことになるのかな。え？サトコがおばにいじめられるたびに、きっとサトシ君は妹をかばってると思う。妹が疲れるのと同じくらい、サトシ君も疲れてると思うのは、私の考えすぎ？どうだろうね。
Had I said something wrong? Myeon sounded a bit taken aback. So that meant Myeon can't tell how he's feeling. Because he's always wearing that blank look. So she never considered it. How can she be that insensitive even though she's all around him all the time? Well, maybe she does, but it's a very touchy subject to begin with.
まあ、そんな話はいいや。
I gotta know.
で、彼は普段はどんなことをしてるの？文系みたいだから、読書とか好きなわけ？想像に生まれずに普段は読書して過ごしてるよ。最近読んでる本はね、なんて言ったかな。
I continued asking about him, about what he likes, dislikes, and what he thinks about it. I asked Sis all these questions because I wanted to know more about him. It was the first time I'd ever been that interested in somebody. I didn't want to admit that I had feelings like that. Did I fall in love just because of a stroke on the head? Am I stupid or what? Head strokes on the head, like head pats, they have magic. Feel in them whenever that happens. When I remember the feeling of his hand on my head, my heart feels tingly. I tried doing it myself, but it didn't feel the same. I am stupid. What am I doing, stroking my own head?
おねえ、私もうダメだ。バカになっちゃった。え？何を突然、気色悪い声で笑い出して。おねえにはわかるまい、この気持ち。
When would I see him again? I felt as if my suffocating life had finally grown brighter. Alright, well. So far, my thoughts about Shion having some feelings for Satoshi ended up being true. Let's see what else are we gonna discover this chapter. The life I lived really was beginning to suffocate me. Like, basically, there's gonna be a chapter where I'm gonna have to see, like, how much of my quadruple love theory is gonna end up being true. I guess we shall see. Like, how are Mion and Shion's thoughts on all this and feelings and all this gonna play out? Like, I am waiting on that moment where both Mion and Shion are gonna end up in such a fight that it's gonna destroy their friendship or something like that for the time being. The life I lived there is really beginning to suffocate me. I couldn't go out freely, and I always had to make arrangements with Mion before going to work. I thought my life would improve after escaping from school, but in reality it wasn't that easy. It's not healthy to live like this for too long, without any friends to hang out with. I felt like I was hibernating. I started to feel the dangers of falling into boredom. All I could think of now was Satoshi Ojo's face. I only met him briefly, but my encounter with him had a great impact on my new life. I felt like something exciting was going to happen. Really, I was hyped up like a little kid. The more I thought about it, I realized I'd been thinking about him a lot lately. This might be a crush. I felt a little ridiculous idolizing him in such a romantic way, though. Then, out of the blue, I got a chance to see him again. Nope.
Are?
I saw a familiar face at twilight in the park. He was sitting on a swing. He looked like he was zoning out, or maybe in deep thought. He didn't notice me, even though I was right in front of him. I reminded myself to speak and act like Mion before talking to him. I am. Also, this is like a new recording session right over here, and I found out who the VA for Satoshi is. It's not who I thought it was. I thought it was Yoroi from Muv-Luv, in similar fashion to how Keiichi would have the same VA as the protagonist of Muv-Luv, Takero. So we would have like a VA combo right over here, but no, apparently not. However, he is like Yu Kobayashi, or she. I don't remember. like the gender of the VA, but either way, it's the same VA as Kanon, which I did not recognize. I guess mostly since Kanon voices in a very serious, monotonous way, whereas Satoshi is a little more, free and all that in the way he speaks.
Hey! 何やってんのこんなとこでさ。
Man, this is a beautiful park.
ミオンか。びっくりしたな。
そんなに驚いてるようには見えないけどね。さっきからいたんだけど、ずっと気づかなかった？
そうなのかい？ごめん、気づかなかったよ。
Okay, now that I'm hearing Satoshi, yeah, I can hear Kano a little bit more. Now that I remember, he smiled self-derisively and shrugged. He looked depressed, like something was troubling him.
何か悩み事でも？聞いて楽になるものなら聞くし、力になれるものなら惜しまないけど。
いや、別に。
あたしはサトシ君には一個借りがあるからね。 それとも何？おじさんじゃ力になれないと思ってるわけ？見くびられたもんだな。
別にミオンの力を借りたら意味がないことだからさ。
ほう、それは何？つまり私ごとき女の手は借りたくないってこと？
Thinking him unfair, I puffed up my cheeks in a sulky gesture. Satoshi-kun noticed that and smiled.
違うんだよミオン。僕に実力がなくてここ一番で打てなかったってだけのことなんだよ。
I mentally rifled through all the information about Satoshi-kun that Sis had given me. He doesn't look like much of an athlete, but apparently Satoshi-kun belongs to a junior baseball team. They called the Hinamizawa Fighters. I doubt that he's very skilled, since I didn't hear much about his contribution to the team. Maybe that's why he doesn't tell many people that he is a member. Given how down he felt as a result of messing up, though, he must be fairly dedicated. I deduced all that from what Sis told me, and carefully chose my words so as to sound like her.
なんだ、そんなことで落ち込んでるわけ？
そんなことでって簡単に言ってくれるなミオンは。
I pat his back while chuckling. Satoshi-kun would probably call me insensitive. I knew I should listen to him, rather than trying to cheer him up. Acting like Sis was probably the wrong thing to do in this case. But I had no choice. This was just how she'd react in this situation.
それなら落ち込むんじゃなくて、なお一層練習に打ち込んで次のチャンスを目指すのが適当ってもんでしょうが。こういう時は練習しかないよ、練習。まあサトシ君に相手のピッチャーに小細工をしてまで勝ちたいという執念があるなら、おじさんいろいろと協力できるかもしれませんけどね。
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe this is just me, but okay, we have Shion who is trying to pretend to be Mion and all that right over here, which she is doing it well, except for the fact that maybe she's being a little bit too loud. And I guess it's because it is Shion's attempt to sound more boisterous and all that. I don't know, maybe this is just me. Maybe it's just me.
ずるしても何の意味もないよ。はあ。
Satoshi-kun hung his head after letting his regrets out with a big sigh. Surrender, defeat, resignation were all visible in that gesture of his.
諦めがいいのか未練たらたらなのか。やっぱり男に生まれたからには一度くらいは晴れ舞台でスターになってみたいでしょう。
Satoshi-kun grinned and said yes.
もちろんヒーローを目指すのが花だけど、それが目的で野球をやってるわけじゃないよ。純粋にボールを投げたり打ったりするのが楽しいからやってるんだよ。ミオンでもそういうのわかるよね。
おじさんはそういうのはあんまわかんないかな。私は結果が一番であるならどんな種目でも大好きだし、一番になれないのに大好きなんてものはあんまりよくわかんないね。
ミオンらしい答えだな。
He even realized that I'm trying to make him feel better. He laughed along. And, you know, now that I'm hearing more of Satoshi, it sounds less like Yoroi from Move and yeah, now I'm starting to see more of Kanon. A little bit. He didn't look depressed anymore. Except, you know, Kanon wasn't always like this level of energy. Although they do share in a level of depression, must say. They share in a little bit of depression, so that's why I hear a little bit of Kanon as well. I guess he was just feeling down because of the game. He wasn't as depressed as I thought. Maybe I just jumped to conclusions when I saw him sitting alone in the park.
でも ミオンは一番になるためにいろいろと努力をするからね。それは偉いと思うよ。うん。
He smiled gently and stood up. Then he started stroking my head. All of a sudden, I totally wasn't prepared for that. I thought this when he did this last time, but how can he stroke somebody's head so easily? I feel like I had turned into a little kid. Memories from kindergarten came to mind. My face must have been red. I felt embarrassed. Also like I was in heaven. Satoshi-kun stroked me as though petting a cat. I was blushing with my eyes closed. I felt helpless, like a girl being treated by the dentist with her mouth open and her eyes shut. Satoshi-kun didn't seem to notice my feelings at all. He didn't seem to care. I hate him. With my eyes still closed, I waited for him to finish. He suddenly withdrew his hand.
じゃあ、僕はそろそろ帰るよ。
Ah, damn. That had lasted so long, it's turning like evening soon.
おばさんに野球の帰りに買い物をしてくるよう頼まれてるから。
My voice faltered. I was so embarrassed.
買い物なら私も行くとこ。夕飯の買い物。
あれ、ミオも買い物するんだ。お手伝いさんが全部やってくれるって言ってなかったっけ？
Shoot. I messed up. In my Sonozaki house, the maids do everything. Therefore, Mion hardly goes grocery shopping. And she's bragged to some people about that. I should have known better. Still, it won't be too hard to find an excuse.
町に遊びに来るつもりでいたから、買い物を私が引き受けてきたわけよ。
Yeah. I mean, Mion right away here is an old man, but doesn't necessarily mean that he cannot do shit.
お分かり？
By themselves.
ミオンにしては珍しいね。普段はそういうのめんどくさいって言って嫌がりそうなのに。
そういうのを余計なお世話って言います。頭撫でないで。
Satoshi-kun seemed to be having fun with how embarrassed I get when he patted me. Anyway, I managed to talk my way out of it. He didn't seem to really care about the details. While walking with Satoshi-kun in a shopping district of Kamiishiki, it suddenly occurred to me, why had I messed up? I'd known Mion would never go grocery shopping. What an amateurish mistake. Did I make that mistake when I was pretending to be Mion? Nah. I mean, yeah, such strong feelings for Satoshi right now, you just couldn't help but, think of spending time with him even more. So you wanted to go grocery shopping the same as him. No, I was probably speaking as Shion. I couldn't keep lying to myself. I had to just admit. It was simply because I wanted to spend as much time with Satoshi-kun as possible. It was easy to see why I was so attracted to him. I mean, Christ. For someone like Shion, who is so free-spirited and lived in a school with just girls for like 2 years. Well, there are some male teachers and all that, but mostly young girls with no boys like around. Not only is Satoshi like a sweet person, but at the same time, Satoshi is like the one and only boy that Shion has interacted with in all these years. So I guess it also makes sense in that front. And I didn't have to feel tense because he thought I was somebody else, etc., etc. His easygoing nature made him fun to be around, and his habit of petting people on the head was fun too. From these symptoms, I could tell I was embracing the feeling of love. I was just casually enjoying that feeling. It wasn't that I fell in love with him. I was just having fun. I could simply spend some fun time with Satoshi-kun without having to think too much.
ブロッコリーってどれだっけ？緑だっけ？黄色だっけ？
サトシ君、そっちはカリフラワー。サトシ君ってひょっとしてキャベツとレタスの区別がつかないタイプ？
Who knew that you would share that kind of same trait as your younger sister, Satoko? Jesus Christ.
それはひどいよ。これでも精一杯区別してるつもり。
Satoshi-kun stared at the heaps of broccoli and cauliflower. After thinking for a while, he reached out for the wrong one.
それ違う。サトシ君の買い物は見ててハラハラしますね。見てるこっちは楽しいけどさ。
参ったな。サトコと一緒の時にも迷うんだよ。ブロッコリーとカリフラワーはどっちが何色だっけってね。
あんたら兄弟2人揃って面白すぎです。
Sisa told me that Satoshi was a fakey big brother to his nagging little sister. I hadn't met Satoko, but she must be having a tough time dealing with Satoshi-kun. He stumbles over everything he buys after all.
それは調理塩。胡椒とか混じってますから、卓上塩とは異なります。
え、そうなの？ほら、確か理科の実験で塩と胡椒を分離するのを確か。
言い訳はいいから棚に戻す。こっちが普通のお塩ね。で、次は？
ミオンがいてくれると買い物が楽で助かるよ。
サトシ君、頭良さそうに見えて社会生活に支障ありすぎです。もう少しお勉強した方がいいと思います。
それはひどいな。あった。これかな。ひょいひょい。
だからそれは違う。何でもカゴに放り込む前に値段と何人分かをよく確認する。
My first impression of Satoshi-kun was that he was strong and reliable. But the more I spoke to him, the more surprised I was at how clumsy and unreliable he was. How do I put it? It's hard to leave him alone. He was dangerous on his own. You know, I started to think about this a little bit more right over here. Like, I could go with the explanation that it's just freaking anime, and sometimes, while there are going to be characters that are going to act like the most realistically as possible, there are going to be some anime/cartoonish quirks when it comes to them. Like, I don't fucking know, like... I remember... I mean, the closest example would be that Ariakey loves freaking chopsticks. Why such an obsession with chopsticks? Where it's coming from? I couldn't tell you. So, I could go with that and say that Satoshi and Satoko have this kind of quirk for no explicable reason other than just humor. But if I'm to think realistically speaking, are you guys colorblind or something? Is that why you're having such a hard time choosing between cauliflower and broccoli? Between salt and pepper? Is that it? If he wasn't careful, he might start wondering, do you cross the street when the light is red? Or was it green? Actually, that would be a good test. Like, if we were to go through a street light when it's red or like and such, Maybe that would explain it. Like maybe he is colorblind if he cannot tell at a street light and get himself run over by a dump truck. Sweat drop.
1780円になります。スタンプカードはお持ちですか？
はい、あります。あれ、どこかな？
すみません。ちょっと見当たらないんで、今度でいいです。
I finished checking out, ignoring Satoshi-kun as he fished through his wallet full of receipts.
ひどいな、ミオン。スタンプちゃんと押さないともったいないよ。
あんた、夕暮れ時のお買い物ラッシュの時にのんびりと財布を漁ってスタンプカードなんか探さない。後ろに大勢待ってるんだから。私たちの後ろで海線山線のおばさま方が早くしなさいざますって目でギロギロ睨んでたの気づいてなかったんですか？そういう時はレジ前に並んでる時からあらかじめ用意しておくの。
そうか。いいことを聞いたよ。
ちなみにここでのことだけじゃないですからね。バスに乗る時もそう。サトシくん、バスを降りようとして料金を入れる時、その時になって初めてお財布を開けて小銭をちまちまと探して後ろの人を詰まらせて待たせてるでしょう。
みんな僕を追い抜いて勝手に料金を入れてるかな。
はあ、それはね、すっごーく周りに迷惑をかけているのです。そういうのはあらかじめ用意しておくのがマナー。わかりました？
わかったよ。今日のミオンは怖いな。
Satoshi-kun smiled as if patronizing me. I couldn't believe it. He was definitely the type who made women want to protect him. Sure, he was fine as he was when he had a busybody like me around him, but I couldn't stop worrying about whether he was able to function in society without someone like that nearby. We got plastic bags and sorted out what we bought. Satoshi-kun put a pack of tofu at the bottom of the bag. I slapped his hand and put in a milk carton instead.
はい、これで OK。これで台所で買い物袋を広げてお母さんに仰天されなくて済みますからね。
ありがとう。助かったよ。僕はどうも買い物が苦手でさ。
I mean, Jesus freaking Christ. Like, okay, Satoshi seems to be the one who is dealing with groceries and such. Like, we could think of this in a comedic way, but if he is fucking up, like, the grocery that much on his own, where he would be misplacing, like, one item for the other, when he goes back with that grocery bag and the aunt sees, like, all this unnecessary stuff that she didn't want instead of what she wanted, and that will be grounds for another session of screaming and, like, bullying the kids and such, which would be no good. So you are definitely helping Satoshi in more ways than one.
買い物だけ正直におっしゃい。嘘冗談。
I realized a few things while I was spending time with him today. He's not just bad at shopping. He's also chronically clumsy. In general, you could call him a slow thinker. That meant when he stepped into the quarrel with the punks, he must have needed a lot of courage. He might be a simpleton, but he is not stupid. He is aware of his weaknesses, so he must have been aware of the danger in this situation. He could have chosen to walk away even though I was in trouble, but he chose to be a man and stepped in. And that was really admirable of him.
偉い偉い。サトシ君は頑張ったよ。いい子いい子。
なんだよ。急に人の頭を撫でないでくれよ。
It's payback.
サトシ君が一人でお買い物ができましたでしょう。なでなでなで。
ミオン、僕のことすっごいバカにしてるだろ。
してないよ。お家一人で帰れるかな？道わかる？
やっぱりバカにしてる。
Satoshi-kun's sulky face flushed red. It's just too cute. At that point, I caught a glimpse of a billboard from the corner of my eye. Piano lessons, called XX. Abacus class. Junior baseball team members wanted. It was a posting for the team Satoshi-kun belonged to. It showed the day, time, and place for their next practice. By then, I knew just how flaky he was. I figured he must be just the same when playing baseball. Satoshi-kun realized that I was reading the posting. He looked uncomfortable and walked away.
今、サトシ君は思った。頼むからミオン。野球やってるとこまで来ないでくれよ。図星？その、ムーってのはつまり何さ？図星ってことでしょ？
Satoshi-kun became quiet. After mumbling something, he seemed like he couldn't say anything back, since I had been right on the money. Satoshi-kun, you're just too cute. I don't think going silent is a good way to dodge the issue. Well, that might have been just the way innocent people like him would react in a situation like that.
じゃあね、サトシ君。暗くなりかけてるから気をつけて帰ってね。
ミオンは一緒に帰らないのかい？ひなみざわ。
私はもうちょっと寄るとこありますんで、気にしないで先に帰ってください。
僕の買い物を手伝ってもらったんだから、今度は僕が手伝う。
大丈夫大丈夫。っていうか、サトシ君が何を手伝うおつもりで？人の手伝いする前に自分が手伝われなくて買い物できるようになっといてくださいな。
もう今日のミオンはひときわ意地悪かな。
He seemed to have some pride at least. He looked a bit upset because he was teased by a girl. But in contrast, I felt very, very satisfied. As a result, I forgot to keep my guard up.
でも手伝ってくれてありがとうね。本当に助かったから。
Oh my god, Mion went cute. And by Mion I mean Shion. While wearing a bright smile, Satoshi-kun suddenly started stroking my head again. I don't know, he's teasing me, but... Ooh, I cannot reject him. He keeps doing it only because he realized I won't resist. Ooh.
じゃあね、ミオン。暗くならないうちに用事を済ませてね。また明日、学校で。
また明日、学校でね。
In fact, I wouldn't see him tomorrow at all. I felt awkward, but I had to settle for that. I had to thank Sis for letting me use her name. After I separated from him, I found myself giddy and wishing to see him again as soon as possible. I wanted to know more about him. I couldn't wait for the next chance to see him. Actually, maybe there was something I could do. Just like when I obtained my freedom from St. Lucia's, I could choose how to live myself. I could choose how to live my life. Whatever. It wasn't that complicated. I just wanted to taste him more. I wanted him to stroke my head more. And... whatever. I already knew the schedule for his baseball team. Are we gonna see him play baseball next time? Let's see. A crumpled diary. A hopeless pair. Alright, well, let's see. More details about Satoshi's disappearance. I don't want to be here. My aunt finally stopped her hysterical screaming. Today was just like any other day. I can't remember what set her off. Whatever it was, she changed subject constantly anyway. It didn't matter. She went on past midnight again. The urge to sleep was pounding the back of my head. Once Satoko had been able to relax, she fell down on the spot and started sleeping, still clinging to my sleeve. I carried Satoko to the bedroom and laid out our futons.
ほら、サトコ。布団が敷けたよ。布団に入りな。
Satoko crawled in like a worm. She stopped moving once she was inside. I wish I could go to bed too, but I couldn't. My aunt asked me to do some chores. I had to get toothpaste after school tomorrow. I had to write it down somewhere. I had to make a rice for lunch tomorrow. I set a timer. Right. I also have to repile the towels in the bathroom. That was the reason for today's scolding. My aunt will get mad if everything isn't done the way she wants. Oh, and there was something else. I was working at the grocery store the next day. They wanted me to bring an apron. Did we even have an apron in this house? I'd never seen one. My aunt will be sleeping when I go to school, so I won't have time to ask her. What should I do? Simeon helped me get that job. I don't want to screw it up. Job? In that case, why don't I ask Mion about it at school? She might lend me one. Was there anything else? I was envious of Satoko, because she got to go to bed. It was pathetic that I felt that way. Poor babies.
こんにちは。今日もお暑いのにご精が出ますことで。
Ah, would you look at that?
おお、ミオンさんじゃないですか。
Hello, Ariakey.
こんにちは。あれ？それは差し入れですか？ありがたいな。さすがは我がチームのマネージャー。
まあ気が向いたからです。別に監督に差し入れたくて買ってきたわけじゃないので、そこんとこよろしくお願いします。あと、さりげなく人を勝手にマネージャーに組み込まないように。
ミオンがマネージャーだったらいろいろ心強いと思うけどね。やってよ、ミオン。マネージャー。
Satoshi-kun smiled at me in a carefree manner. I didn't want to become their manager. It'd be tiresome. I've been coming every week, though, so I'm a quasi-manager already. Oh! Been coming every week.
まあ、本当に気が向いたらその時はやりますんで。
Like, a lot of time is passing as we go through this, it seems. Okay.
で、どうです？サトシ君の打率はどんな感じです？
ええ、頑張ってますよ。彼の打率ですか？そうですね。セブンスマートでおせんべいの袋をどれでも3つ買うとですね。
それってつまり3割ってことですか？へえ、サトシ君って結構な高打率打者じゃないの。
打率は数字じゃないよ、ミオン。ここ一番で打てなきゃ意味はないんだからさ。
サトシ君は自分で自分の弱点をよく分かっているようですね。そこまで分かっているなら、あとは練習あるのみですよ。
Irie signaled to the pitcher, who then threw the ball. Satoshi-kun looked calm, following the ball with his eyes, and then he swung. Fuck! The ball flew between the first and second bases and landed in the distance.
おお、やったー。パチパチパチパチパチ。
Pachi, 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 pachi. I clapped, and Satoshi-kun blushed in response. He repositioned his helmet to hide his face.
フリーバッティングや試合が平坦な時はかなり落ち着いたいいバッティングを見せてくれるんですけどね。
Irie smiled compassionately. It seemed that Satoshi-kun really couldn't perform well when it counted. While he was usually good, when everybody expected him to perform, he couldn't. I didn't think it was because of nervousness. He just couldn't do it. I think it's a perfect fit for Satoshi-kun's character. He seems calm at first glance, but he's actually slow.
スコアボードとかそういう数字上ではかなりの高アベレージヒッターなのにね。本番に弱いってのは致命的かも。そんなことだからこないだの浮田ジャガーとの試合でもここ一番で凡退するんですよ。
うるさいな。気にしてるんだから黙っててくれよ。
あそこで打てればかなり美味しい見せ場だったんですけどね。残念です。
A hit could have put the offense into the lead, or at least given them an extension. That was when Satoshi-kun came up to bat. Irie wanted him to live up to everybody's expectations. But statistically, that wasn't likely to happen. Yet Irie insisted on giving him a chance, in spite of the fact that all the team members had suggested a pinch hitter.
あーもう、あそこで打てれば完璧なのにな。どうしてダメなんですか？どうしてああいう時に打てないんですか？
仕方ないよ。僕がああいう時弱いの本当だし、僕だって代打を出してくれた方が試合に勝てるかなって思ったし。
試合に勝つかじゃなくてサトシ君が勝つかどうかが問題なんです。ああもう、なんで当の本人にここまで闘争心がないのかな。普通は逆でしょ。代打に変えられそうなところをここは俺に打たせてくださいって食ってかかるとこでしょ。自分から代打を出してほしいなんて言い出すなんて、ああもう、なんでここまで闘争心がないのかな。
それは私も普段から言ってるんですけどね。まあその辺がサトシ君のいいところではあるんですがね。
普段は紳士でも試合には鬼になる。男にはそういう二面性があっても私はいいと思います。とにかくサトシ君には鬼がない。仮にもひなみざわの人間なんだから、たまにはご先祖の鬼の血を思い出してくださいよね。って聞いてます？サトシ君？
聞いてるよ。よくわかんないけど、その。
わかんないけどってサトシ君の話をしてるんですよ。それを
Satoshi-kun suddenly started stroking my head. He looked delighted for some reason. A blush immediately spread across my face. You know, that is a way of making Mion shut up, a.k.a. Shion. You know, this is interesting right over here. When it comes to Irie right over here, like I'm thinking of something. I remember a moment in chapter 3. It may have been like a tip actually. We had Mion, well not Mion, but Shion and Irie. I think it was in the part where I changed to Rikishi Sprites, and now that I'm reminded of that, I think it's time for that part of the chapter, folks. What was it like? While I'm thinking of this, change art styles. Let's see. There's the remake version, Yeah, there you go. But yeah, like I'm thinking of that part in chapter 3 where Irie was teasing Shion about Satoshi, making me think even more that maybe Shion had some feelings for Satoshi. Made me think of that. But here's the thing. Right here we have Mion right over here instead of Shion. We have Shion pretending to be Mion. And we see this interaction between Satoshi and quote-unquote Mion. And chances are, Irie, like, that is more than likely what he's gonna see throughout most of this. Like, these interactions between Satoshi and Mion, quote-unquote Mion. But not the real Shion. Which, it would make you think, maybe there is something between Satoshi and Mion, and Mion actually likes Satoshi. Like, that would be the general vibe that you get out of this. So, it's kind of interesting that Irie would actually think of Shion having feelings for Satoshi instead of Mion. Like, unless later on in this chapter we're finally gonna have Shion escape from the prison of being Mion and just be Shion, and we're gonna see interactions between Satoshi and Shion and all that without having to pretend to be Mion. What if it's possible for Iri to actually notice that this isn't Mion and it's actually Shion? That he sees this interaction between Satoshi and Mion, and initially you would think that, maybe Mion has some feelings for Satoshi, but then later on realizes that, oh, wait a minute, maybe this isn't Mion, it's actually Shion. So Shion is the one who's having feelings for Satoshi. And then later on he is gonna tease Shion about Satoshi and not tease Mion about it. So it kind of makes me question how things are gonna go when it comes to how Irie is gonna see these three people. I'm interested. I didn't know how to respond.
ミオンは僕のためを思って言ってくれてるんだよね。
Like, one possibility would be that, like, you know, it reminds me of chapter 3 when Keiichi murdered Teppei, and Irie is the only one he went to confess about the murder. What if Shion is gonna confess to Irie at some point about her pretending to be Mion, that she isn't Mion but it's actually Shion? What if eventually Shion is gonna end up coming to Irie to talk about this? Under what context? We don't know, but kind of makes me question.
ありがとう。僕は頑張る。
サトシ君、そういうことしてごまかさないでください。
ごまかしてなんかないよ。嬉しいだけだよ。